Offroad. Today we're working on my 2007 Toyota 4Runner. We will be taking the stock rack off and we're going to be installing a Prinsu roof rack, modular roof rack. I think they look really good, and so that was the rack I decided on. I got sponsored by Car Sponsors and SRQ Fabrications. Got shipped directly to me from Prinsu, so that's pretty cool. I'm excited to get this on here and get that rooftop tent onto a more sturdy and durable rack. Something that can hold a little more weight, dynamic and static. I'm going to show you the processes you'll need to take to put this rack together because it comes in the box disassembled. You have to assemble it yourself and they give you all the hardware that you need. I'm going to show you the tools you're going to need and everything you need to do, put this together and get it onto your 4Runner. So let's go ahead and get started. Here you're going to see the side rails. And then you get the noise reducing trim, that rubber piece there. And this is your windshield front valance. And it's held on by that silver bar there. And then of course, you get all your hardware. And some lip moisturizer. You get a few stickers. And here's all the rest of your hardware, and you get some Loctite as well for the bolts. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take this wind deflector here, and we're going to be mounting it to the only silver bar that you have in your package. You're going to notice these holes here. There's, 8 of them? So, in your package, you'll get a bag that says WD-HDW, so wind deflector hardware. You're going to take everything out of here, and all of this will be used on this part of the project here. You're going to see these little screw inserts here, or like threaded inserts. So you're going to put one on each side of where the holes would be, like that, and line them up about as good as you can. And obviously you need one of these Phillips head screws, and one of these washers for every single hole. So let's go ahead and rig this up. Now that we got our screws in and those inserts. And it looks like they do give you 2 extra of everything just in case you lose some. We need to install our noise reducing trim. I don't know how special this is, but I'm going to find out to see exactly how much this helps. So it's going to go along here. Now we're going to go ahead and install our crossbars to our side rails. You're going to notice some holes right about here. And that's where the crossbars are going to mount into. Also, you want to keep in mind that this side with these holes like this, that's the top. And so that would be the bottom. Here is your bag of hardware for the rack. Crossbar, you'll see it on there, it says CB hardware. Now you want to get your 2 side rails kind of standing up if you can, and then take yourself a bolt with a washer and mount your first crossbar, and that will help them stay up a little bit better. You may have to kind of straddle. And each of these crossbars has 2 holes on the side for 2 bolts. And you can mount these crossbars really wherever you want. It gives you plenty of options. Now, I would leave these bolts a little bit loose so you can kind of mark where you want your crossbars to be. So you can slide them back and forth in these slots here. And you can kind of line everything up the way that they need to be. I would also like to mention that these screw heads our T30 Torx bit. Now that we got our rails, crossbars on, we have to mount our wind guard here. So this has the same exact thing that the crossbars do. So you just do the same process and it mounts here. As you can see, you might need to trim this pretty flush with the end of the wind guard, but we'll see if we need to do that. Yeah, it looks like we're gonna have to trim that up just a bit. Now you're going to see a package with these brackets and this hardware here. This is to mount your LED bar in this cutout. Now you may not have an LED bar cutout, but I do. You can order it that way if you would like. You can also order an LED bar with the rack if you'd like to. So you're going to take this and it's going to mount to these holes on this side. You'll see two holes here, and that's where your bracket's going to mount to. And you get hardware for that as well. Now that you've gotten your Prinsu rack put together, it's time to remove your stock rack. And if you've got a rooftop tent on there like I do, you can remove that if you would like first before you remove the stock rack, or you can remove it with the stock rack if you have someone to help you. It's going to be heavy, especially if you have one of those hard shell tents. So what you're going to want to do is you need to pop off these plastic covers here. And keep in mind, if these have never come off before, they are brittle. They will break easily. You'll need to use a flathead or something to get underneath this rubber here to pop them off. And underneath these plastic covers are two bolts, and you have to remove those. So let's go ahead and do that. Now up here you're going to see the two bolts I was talking about. Right there, and right there. And they've got two of these bolts on all four sides. They're going to be a 12mm. Now that you got your stock rack off and your rooftop tent, if you have one, you want to clean up these areas where the old pads were, because they're going to be real dirty. There's a lot of dirt gets under there, so you want to make sure you clean that up so that it won't scratch the paint later on. So let's go ahead and do that. You can use some sort of wireless wash, whatever brand you like. However, I like to use Vosh. There's a discount code in the description if you'd like to go get yourself some for this project, if you're going to be doing it as well. So let's go ahead and get these cleaned up and go from there. Alright, now, just gotta get positioned right.
Oop. There's slide up there. Is this top need moved over more?
Yeah.
Like there?
My side needs to go back just a little bit. I think we're cockeyed, I think.
Yeah, I can't see. Where's it going? Right there?
Yeah, you see
this
those
one's lined
holes?
up. This one's lined up.
No,
It
these
was.
are kind of lined up.
These are kind of lined up.
Okay. Yeah, that should be good enough.
Okay.
Cool beans.
Oh,
Alright, now that you got your rack and your tent mounted on the top of your 4Runner, we need to install the hardware that holds the rack to the roof of the 4Runner. Now, as you can see, I have my wind deflector on, and with that tent, you are not able to access the bolt holes on the roof in the front at the very least. You could probably reach the ones in the back. However, for the front, we're going to have to remove that wind deflector to get the bolts in the holes. So I'm going to show you the tools we're going to need to do that, and the bolts and every piece of hardware that you're going to need to do this. So let's go ahead and get started on that. Now, in your bag of hardware, you're going to get a bag of hardware just like this, and it'll say exactly what is on it, and just like the other bags. Now, you're going to get a whole bunch of these bolts here. Okay? And you're going to get spacers like this. These spacers go under the feet that mount to the roof of the 4Runner. So, and then you get a whole bunch of these spacers. So, it's basically going to go, you got the bolt, washer, and this is going to go through the top, through the foot of the rack, and then this spacer is going to be underneath the feet. And it'll go like that. So you do that to all four sides, all 8 bolts, and that's pretty much it. Now, with a bag of Loctite. I highly recommend it so that the bolts don't back out on you while you're going down a rough trail or something. So let's go ahead and put some Loctite on all these bolts. I would recommend 2 at a time and get those put on. Let's do it. Now we're not going to tighten down them bolts all the way until we get all the bolts in, all 8 of them, so we can make sure that our rack is on the roof right where we want, nice and centered. So when you're doing this, don't tighten all the bolts down all the way. Get them down to where you know that the rack isn't going to move anywhere. It's not going to fall off of the roof, or, you know, if you're doing this by yourself, obviously you can't get a rack and a rooftop tent up there by yourself. But if you're doing this part by yourself, just make sure you get at least 4 of the bolts in so that you know that the rack's not going to move anywhere. And then once you get those 4 bolts in, make sure you get all the other 4. Make sure all your 8 are tightened down, and then we'll go from there. So the bolts that come with the kit are going to be the same size as the bolts that you pulled out of there. They're a 13 millimeter. So on the roof rack, when you're putting the bolts in, if you don't have a tent, you can just go ahead and use a power drill or an impact or whatever you want, a ratchet and a socket. Obviously I can't do that, so I have to use a ratcheting wrench, which is fine. It gets done either way. It's just going to be a little bit slower this way. So if you have a tent on there, this is how you're going to have to do it, unless you mount the tent afterwards.